If You Were the Last, it's a rom-com about two astronauts lost adrift in space that come to a debate that most of us would in their situation, to stick it in or not to stick it in. So these two astronauts, Adam and Jane, are on a mission for NASA when their ship breaks down while deep in space. After enough time goes by, they start to wonder if there's any hope of rescue. A friend had actually pointed out to me that it's really a story as old as time, being lost somewhere without any hope of rescue, whether that be in the middle of the desert or on a boat in the middle of the sea. The circumstances just keep getting modernized with every iteration. If I were to tell somebody that I just watched a movie about two astronauts lost adrift in space, they'd probably expect it to be an eerie sci-fi flick, but no, it's actually just a totally offbeat, quirky rom-com. So this movie gave off some serious Scott Pilgrim vibes. I actually looked up the director in the middle of the movie, half expecting it to be Edgar Wright, just because of how reminiscent of his visual style this movie was. Sorry if I totally botched this pronunciation, but Christian Mercado Figueroa is the dude's name. He doesn't seem to have directed a feature film, at least not one that I could find online, which I think is crazy because as far as directing goes, bravo. I loved the direction of this movie. There was a lot of synergy between the camera techniques and the editing, giving off a very comedic visual style. And I think that melded with the comedy in the script very well. So the set design is very semi-realistic. It has a very deliberately campy look. For an example, the spaceship and the nearby planets are obviously made of paper mache, and the interior of the spaceship is very cartoonishly designed. This, coupled with the very quirky tone, I thought was really charming, and it's not cheaply designed for budgeting reasons. Trust me, that becomes very clear in the movie. I think that the set design being a bit childlike kind of forces you into this childlike suspension of disbelief, which in turn leaves us with a very childlike outlook on the story and on love. It really puts you into the mindset to want a charming love story. Even though the overall design feels very kid-friendly, the humor was still very mature. Again, this is about two friends debating whether or not they should hook up. So there's a lot of sexual humor, but not in an overly provocative or smutty way. I thought that the dialogue was all great and that the humor was just perfect. It's not even so much that it was laugh out loud funny all the way through. It's just that the jokes worked really well with the movie's bubbly tone. I'm not too familiar with Zoe Chow's work before this movie, but man, did I like her in this movie. For me personally, she carried the movie. I thought her character Jane was much funnier than Adam. There were actually times earlier on in the movie where I had kind of felt that Anthony Mackie wasn't really right for the role. I was really thinking somebody a bit more animated in their demeanor would have made more sense. That said, by the end of the movie, I did start to realize that we actually needed a dude that we can at least kind of take seriously. So overall, I think Anthony Mackie was a fine choice. I gotta say, rom-coms have never really been my favorite genre, but this one was much different. I thought the movie was great. Rom-coms really need to break the mold nowadays if they want to stand out and actually be good, and the kind of fun, campy, and animated tone of this movie is what really got it there. It's only on Peacock, which I know not a lot of people use. That said, if you were planning on seeing Five Nights at Freddy's this weekend, you can just buy a month of Peacock, immediately cancel, and then you have a month to watch both Five Nights at Freddy's and this. If you're in the mood for a feel-good comedy, then look no further. This movie really delivers. But if me saying quirky, offbeat comedy just grosses you out, then you could probably skip this one. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this review. If it brought you any value at all, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It really does help the channel grow. I'll see you later this week with my review of Five Nights at Freddy's.